We have an update to the Highguard being shut down coming from Chad Grenier, studio head and game director at Wildlight Entertainment. And he said, with today's sad news for the game and studio, I thought I would share some interesting information about Highguard in the thread below. And in this thread, he goes into actual tangible numbers of what was happening. And I am all for this. This is all we want as gamers in the game industry. We want transparency. Please just give us the information. At the end of the day, it helps consumers make a more informed buying decision in the future. We had slightly over 2 million players worldwide try the game. I would like to thank all of you for giving the game a try. Given all the backlash between announce and launch day, trying the game for yourself is all I could have asked for. Thank you to our players. Okay, starting off good. Sounds almost like they're trying to take some accountability here. Average session duration was an hour and a half, 91 minutes. This is actually quite good. This means that on average, a player logged into Highguard and played for 91 minutes. The average games played per session was 3.48 matches per session. Most recently, PS5 was the biggest player base by 2 times, then Xbox, then Steam. That is shocking to me. The PlayStation doesn't necessarily surprise me, but more people playing it on Xbox than Steam is mind-boggling. But there are the numbers. It doesn't give the exact specifics, but he does say double the amount and shows the amount there. Scarlet was the most picked character by a good margin. Fun additional fact, her name was originally Sky, after one of the devs, which is why she shows as Sky in our data. Kai, also named Jade prior to launch, shows the characters that were selected from people. Most games were ended via a generator exploding. Second was an anchor stone plant. The Vanguard had the most kills during development was DB51. US was by far our largest audience, but huge shout out to Japan for being our second largest player base. 92% of the people who loaded the game for the first time completed the training mission. This is actually a very healthy number, similar to what we saw at launch with Apex training completion. 3v3 continued to be our most played mode, even after we added 5v5 and Raid Rush. That is actually surprising to me. So even after updating it to what people were requesting, most people were still defaulting back to the 3v3. The graph does not include data since Raid Rush was released, but you can see 3v3 blue continued to outperform 5v5 orange and then ranked green, which was released post-launch. Tom Henderson, Insider Gaming. Hey, Chad, thanks for being so open about the data. It's always fascinating to read this stuff. Out of curiosity, what was the game's peak concurrent player count across all platforms? I wonder if he is not, maybe by contract, allowed to say that because they specifically left off or cut the numbers off to not show the amount of players. Just curious, but you can do some basic math based off of the Steam numbers and on the date, and then looking at the Steam in green and then multiplying it. You should be able to come up with a similar number for what would be PlayStation and Xbox as well. This is Highguard. Let me refresh. As of right now, we are almost 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night, West Coast time, about 10 days before shutdown, 330 players. So by announcing the closing of this game and winding it down, it did nothing to the overall numbers. It didn't make people walk away, and it sure as shit didn't make people excited to pick the game up again. Maybe that will change as we get closer to the final days of it. But as of right now, this is the overall chart for Highguard based off of launch, starting at nearly 100,000 concurrent players and straight drop down. It reminds me of like in the stock market, like a stock will IPO the day that the initial public offering goes out, Everyone is buying it. Everyone wants to, it's the latest craze. Everyone wants a piece of it. And then right after the initial spike, everyone sells off. The insiders sell out. Everyone gets out of it, and it just dies. That's Highguard in a nutshell. PlayAsia says, what stopped you from making these updates before the game came out? I hope this shows devs that nobody wants half-assed live service games. Highguard wasn't the first flop, and it won't be the last. RIP Wildlight Entertainment. It's a very good point, by the way. If these updates were available, why were you holding them back? Especially if you knew that the game was on life support and falling apart. And this is a lot of cope from the devs and the people running the Wildlight. It's from Eurogamer. Former Highguard level designer suggests sweaty competitive 3v3 play, quote, was the biggest thing that turned a lot of players off. People just kind of turned it off because they didn't have the team. And I'm not going to go through this because I already covered this in a previous video, but I think it spoke volumes of this dev that was saying these things, going through talking about how, oh, it wasn't our fault as developers. It was the community's fault for not being up to speed for how competitive it would be. And remember, by the way, they came from Apex Legends, which I thought was funny because I saw Kata say, they didn't even try, bro. Quote tweeting Hyperbis. Breaking. Apex is facing backlash for allegedly reusing old animations for the Gundam collab Saber Heirloom. Sure looks like reused assets to me too. Curious. Christina Tacey. The best part of this is knowing there's at least half a dozen CEOs out there chuckling to themselves, going, my live service slop will be different, as they continue sanding off the edges of next year's soulless blob of nothing. These games, the future of the live service industry is in doubt right now. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I would almost argue this is the natural evolution of the game industry at large. The developers and the studio heads, the suits, saw the big money, and they all wanted a piece of that pie. So they all jumped in, all threw all their money at it, thinking that this was the future. And by everyone doing that, you all ran in and plugged the hole and couldn't get through because there were not enough people to support your games. And the people that would support them already had the games they were playing. Tell me, riddle me this. Why would you leave a live service game if you have a group of people that you play with every single day? Why would you, especially if you have DLC, microtransactions purchased, skins bought, season passes purchased, if you had all these things with these other games, why would you leave that game and the people you play with to start on a new game that isn't proven, isn't the same thing that you're used to, and quite frankly, isn't as fun as the game that you're currently playing? Why would you do that? That's the problem that Highguard ran into. I personally feel like it's the problem that Marathon's going to run into. It's the problem Concord ran into, among many other things with Concord. That's a mess in itself. But I would argue the problem with the live service games is these studios thought that you could just throw money at it and then people would just, if you build it, they will come. That's not how this works. There's only a limited amount of people to get from the pool that will play these games consistently. The most valuable asset people have is not money, it's time. And live service games are a dedication, a time sink. And if it's worth it to you, people will play them and they will flock to it in droves. And people, when it's free to play, they'll give it a shot and they will play it. But if they have no financial connection to the game, they will walk away just as fast as they tried it, which I would argue, just like I said with Marathon, is why people will not be buying Marathon, because they tried it for free and realized it's just more of the other stuff that they don't want to play. It's too much of the same stuff. Stop doing the live service games with very limited story, zero single player mode involved with it, and the gameplay, the menu complications, the confusion, and the basic loop over and over and over again. When at the end of the day, I would argue people just want a full game experience instead of something that's bare bones that ends up being more money than what we used to get in the first place back in the day. But hey, maybe that's just me. I do appreciate Highguard sharing the data, but it's not making the situation any better. And I'd like to think companies like Sony, Microsoft look at this and realize we need to rethink our approach to this because it wasn't it. Live service was not it. You know who was smart about this the whole time through? Nintendo. They didn't get caught up in the soup of the day, the flavor of the week. They were just doing their thing like they always do. Whereas Sony and Microsoft, like, we need to be a part of this. Indie developers breaking away. We need to do this thing. No, you don't. Make a good game. Make it fun. And the people will come. And when people start coming and buying a game up and wanting more of it, then naturally the ecosystem and the environment of your game will grow. And only then will it be successful. Don't put the cart before the horse. Don't try to put this season pass and, oh, we have all these plans, or we have 25 chapters planned for this next thing. We already have the entire world and mapped out for everything. No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit. Tell me about that if we actually get there. Let's worry about, is the game fun right now first. But I'll leave that there. That was a tangent. Sorry. I have a lot to say.